Alrighty, welcome to the Virtual College Exploration STEM Days in partnership with Cachet. This is the Kettering University information session. Before I hand it over to Scott, I'm going to kick us off with some housekeeping items. First and foremost, we do have more sessions through this evening with Cachet, so if you're interested in continuing to connect with other colleges and universities, please check back on our schedule. And when you do register for these sessions, you did get a barcode in that confirmation email, but know that that barcode's not necessary for any of the virtual events you participate in. And we are recording all of these sessions and posting them to our website shortly after the session concludes. So whether you want to rewatch one you participated live in or watch one you may have missed, just check back on our website for those recordings. And then you'll see and hear Scott throughout the presentation. Unfortunately, he cannot see or hear you all. This is webinar style format. So any questions you have throughout the presentation, feel free to type those into the Q&A box. And we have Bree with Kettering as well behind the scenes, kind of attending to those questions. So feel free to type those throughout the presentation. I'll hand it over to you, Scott.
Hello all, and thanks for joining us. My name is Scott Travis. I'm the Director of Specialty Admissions at Kettering University. And I'm here with my associate, Bree Baker. Say hi, Bree, if you can. Oh, she's probably muted, so.
Hi.
Okay, there she is. Yeah, so Bree is going to be fielding some questions that are coming in during the presentation. So, and we'll package in some time to talk about the questions a little bit later on. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and we'll walk through a few slides together, and I'll do my best to give you an overview of what we're doing at Kettering. Are we still here?
Looks good, Scott.
Okay, excellent. So Kettering University is it's a unique school. We're a STEM school. We're a small school, and we're pretty unapologetic about being those two things. So it is it's for those reasons that that we provide a very unique campus experience and a unique education. So we are, let's see if I can, here we are. Located in Michigan. We're in Flint, Michigan, actually. And kind of about an hour north of Detroit, but we're pretty close to the downtown Flint area, which is a pretty vibrant scene these days, actually. There's 3 schools that are located nearby, including the University of Michigan campus, one of their campuses, and a branch of the Michigan State University Medical School. So there's a lot of young people in the area, lots of cool stuff to do there. What we specialize on specifically are laboratory sciences and workshop settings, and really a hands-on approach to the STEM fields. And you can see that you know, what we do is very applied. So the philosophy of the university is not just to learn about STEM, but to do it. Our students are, they get bored easy, and maybe folks in the audience can kind of relate to that, you know, it's not about just listening to lectures and taking a bunch of notes, but what are we gonna do in these settings? And even our list of academics, you can see the word applied listed a lot, because we really focus on, you know, not learning the material just for the sake of education, but learning the material so you knew what to do with it, to see what's good for in industry and in careers, and roll up our sleeves and actually kind of take a dive into it. We have about 13 degree programs, which, you know, compared with a lot of other universities, that's not very many, but it's what we're good at. And we're really good at those 13 majors, and that's what we stick with. So I think there's something to be said about that, to just know what your strengths are and to really focus on that. And our faculty and our students, I think they really appreciate that focus. So like I said, it was a small school. We like to get students right into those labs and workshops right away. So, so typically just about every engineering and laboratory science class has a laboratory component to it. And it's all set up so that you basically, I mean, you have an instructional component to each class, and then the lab is either right next door or right across the hall. And about 50% of our academic space is devoted to these labs and workshops. So for those of you out there in high schools, can you imagine what your high school would look like if 50% of the space there was labs and workshops? So when you think about that, of course, I mean, you can understand how your education gets, you know, it gets really a lot more enticing and a lot more engaging when you can kind of visualize a setting like that. In those particular spaces, because we want students rolling up their sleeves and being involved themselves, we keep the class sizes small so the faculty members can engage directly with students. And so students aren't, you know, they're not just spectating. They're not looking over somebody's shoulder. They're not watching a demonstration. They're doing it themselves. And here's a little short video of some of the spaces that we work in, and you can kind of see that it's very engaging. It's very experiential. It's kind of a hot topic in education right now. Experiential. That's what we do. And the thing about this is it's engaging for the students, but quite frankly, it's engaging for our faculty members too. So when you have a faculty member that's interested and engaged with what's going on, then you know you're going to have a better classroom experience. So some of the other things, some of the other features that that I wanted to point out today, we've got our own mobility center, which is super cool. It's right across the street from campus, part of the campus footprint, where we're actually doing our own mobility research. So it's a test track, it's a proving ground. We're doing a ton of autonomous vehicle development. In fact, the governor of Michigan actually today just announced a whole corridor of state highway that's actually being devoted to autonomous driving research and implementation. So that's one of the topics that that we focus on. In fact, the picture in the middle here talks about the auto drive experience. So it's a 4-year competition that Kettering students are involved in right now to develop a level 4 autonomous vehicle. And level 4, it's urban friendly. So you know that makes all the difference. So these autonomous vehicles that you know, for example, that are in trucking or agricultural industries. Well, if you'll forgive me the pun, it's pretty straightforward, right? There's not a lot of complications there. But you put a vehicle in an urban setting, and all of a sudden you have a lot of unpredictable variables, a lot more liability, and the equation gets a lot more complicated and frankly a lot more interesting, right? So we have a number of corporate partners that we work with in autonomous development as well. So of course we have some sport facilities on campus as well, kind of based on the same premise of being an active and participant rather than being a spectator. A number of our students actually were involved in robotics, and maybe some people on the meeting today are involved in FIRST Robotics or VEX Robotics. We partner with them. We've been a long time partner with FIRST Robotics, and we love the model of education that comes along with that. And what I mean by that, the collaboration, the hands-on work, the problem solving, and then of course, all the engineers on our campus and the scientists on the campus, they have budgets, they have deadlines, both in class and in the co-op program, which I'll talk to and talk more about in just a minute. But that's what these FIRST students are doing as well. In fact, that's what project learning is all about, is having these budgets and deadlines. And employers, they love to see that kind of experience. So this is a shot of our Learning Commons that's actually under construction on campus as well. Multi-million-dollar facility. We're super excited about getting this going and opening the doors to our students coming in. So that's going to be kind of a mixed-use area. We've got some social space and some classroom space, a new dining facility. So I, for one, am excited about seeing that too. So let's dive a little bit into the co-op program. The co-op program is the single most important differentiator at Kettering University. Kettering's co-op is the most extensive co-op in the United States. It starts as early as freshman year, and students, by the time they graduate, they're gonna have 2 or 2.5 years of professional paid work experience in their field of study. So our calendar is built around this co-op program, and we have a rotation for all of our students. So as starting freshman year, our students, they're gonna spend 1 quarter, 1 academic term with our faculty in those labs and workshops I was talking about. And then the very next quarter, they're gonna rotate through a professional paid position in the field where they're gonna learn on the job, and they're gonna get paid while they're doing that. So the fact that we get started really early with that program really allows students to take a deep dive into their fields professionally while they're going to school. And a lot of students, they understand that work experience is becoming more and more important by the time they graduate, but this isn't an internship. This isn't, scratching the surface. These are deep dives. Students, by the time they're juniors or seniors, they're really respected employees of the companies that they're working for. They're on research teams, they're on development teams. They are, part of the team that's implementing new strategy and building new products. In fact, there's a number of our students at a number of different companies that, they're even like signing disclosure agreements because the projects that they're working on are brand new and very innovative and not for public consumption yet. These are competitive companies that our students are working for. So the way that works is when students are accepted to the university, right away we're going to match them up with a coach. So our students, Kettering students or prospective Kettering students, they're going to have an academic advisor, just like they would at any school, but they're going to have a professional advisor too. Somebody that's actually going to work with them on things like resume development and interviewing skills and really just professional development, which at Kettering we feel it should be part of the college education. Most parents that are out there, they realize that sons and daughters, they grow a lot as individuals. They want to be well-rounded. They want to be well-educated. But at the end of the day, they need to be employable. And that is a focus of ours right from day one. And really, our students, they like that approach too, because they're putting a lot of work in. They're taking tests and they're learning material, and they want to know what it's good for. They want to take that body of work that they've labored on, in school, in those classes and the workshops, and they want to put it to the test and see what it's good for. And the co-op program gives our students an opportunity to do that, but not the summer after junior year or something like that. Now they get an opportunity to do it right away. And that starts a feedback loop for our students, which is critical. They figure out what they want to do. They figure out what they like. They figure out what they're good at. Sometimes they figure out what they're not so good at. And so they go back to school with this motivation. And they're working shoulder to shoulder with professionals in the industry. So they have, this reassurance that, yeah, what I'm learning in college is going to help me in my career. I mentioned that their students are paid as well. So the pay, which is substantial, the pay reflects the amount of responsibility our students have. So I think that's, again, the differentiator. Our students are making between $10,000 and $15,000 a year in their co-op programs. That's not an internship. It's way more than that. And what they're able to put on their resumes at the end of the time is way more than an internship. In fact, most of our students, by the time they're graduating from Kettering, they already have offers of employment in their back pocket. That's how much these companies appreciate the Kettering model. These are some of the companies that we work with, and you're going to see some big names. We work with global enterprise. We work with software and technology startups. We work with entrepreneurs. In fact, some of our alumni that have graduated from Kettering, they get into the field for a few years and they start hiring Kettering co-op students to assist them. So it's a really good network there. In fact, I think the network that students gain while Kettering students, that's really one of the kind of not so much talked about features of a co-op program that I want to talk about too. So students, they're going to graduate with an extraordinarily reputable degree. They're going to graduate with 2 or 2.5 years of work experience, but they're going to graduate already having a professional network, already having met people in their field. And of course, you know, that gives them a leg up in so many different ways. And that's why the starting salaries and the hiring rate of our students is so good. Part of it is about their body of knowledge and their experience, but a part of it is they've met the right people. So I think that's critical. And we've got about 500 employers at this point, so there's a breadth definitely. So of course, our students, they're not just studying and working. There's a lot of stuff to do on campus, more than anybody really has time for, and that's going to be the case. Students, for those of you out there, you're going to find that no matter where you end up at college, you're going to find a ton of stuff to do. You're going to find a lot of people that you have a lot in common with. Generally, what I like to do is, you know, I tell students that they can get involved right away. That's the quickest way to meet friends and to get comfortable on a campus. But on the same token, you don't have to do everything on day one. It'll still be there when you're ready. So it's always easy to add, you know, a fraternity experience or a sorority experience, or maybe a club, or maybe a field trip with a group. It's always easy to add that stuff going along. Our students, our freshmen, generally live in Thompson Hall, which is right smack dab in the middle of campus. And it's set up very uniquely. So our students, they're set up in 2-room suites. So it's 2 singles side by side with a pocket door in between. So students have options. They can have their own space. They can have a shared space. They can do half and half, whatever they want to do. So it's a little bit different from residence halls that you see in other college campuses. So there's a lot of activity on campus, and a lot of it there's a lot that goes on both on campus and off campus as well. It's a pretty vibrant community. Like I said, no spectators. So it's about, you know, we've got about 2,300 students. It's a really tight-knit community, and even the students that live off-site are living within 3 or 4 blocks of the school. And many of our upperclassmen are moving into apartment spaces in that downtown area that I referred to earlier, and meeting people from other universities as well. So talking about admissions requirements, we are STEM through and through, and we're unapologetic about that. So when we look at criteria for applicants, we really like to look at those laboratory sciences and especially math. Students, they need a good foundation in math to go into these fields. So we're going to start with math right away when students come to campus, but it's good that they have, you know, we look for at least Algebra 2 with trigonometry. Most of our students have pre-calculus, and many have some kind of calculus under their belt already. But that's where we're going to pick up, and then we're going to actually use that math in our physics and engineering courses. What a concept, right? To learn calculus, but actually learn what it's for. That's something that never was covered in high school for me, and not in college either. I learned how to plug and chug, but I never figured out what it was good for. And I see examples of how to use that information every day at Kettering. So we look at high school transcripts. We are a part of Common App. We have our own application on our website as well. It's almost identical. We don't have any preference, one versus the other. And this year, we've gone test optional, just because access to standardized tests has changed so much in the past year. We are not requiring our students to take a standardized test. A lot of students, it's stressful times, and we thought that it would be an easy way to take some stress out of your life. So if you have a standardized test score that you want to send, we're certainly going to look at it. And if it can improve your chances for a merit scholarship or even admission to the university, then we're going to look at it. All right. So it can help you, but it cannot hurt you. Same thing with letters of recommendation. We don't require them, but certainly if students want to share letters of recommendation with us, we'll certainly take a look. And it's the same thing. It can only help you. So when students apply to the university, they're automatically applying for merit scholarship as well. We're quite generous when it comes to that. In fact, students, you really have to the only way to tell how much a college is going to cost is really to apply and see what you're going to be offered, and then do some math on your end. But without that application, no school can really give you an idea of what they can offer you. And in many cases, we all know out here that private schools have a reputation for being more expensive. But what a lot of people don't know is that private schools often offer way more in scholarship as well. So you apply and figure out what the offer is going to be. And I think that our list of scholarships in particular really kind of reflects our student interests and what we like to do on campus. So you're going to see scholarships built for competition vehicles and mobility. You're going to see scholarships that are built for hackers and computer programmers. You're going to see lots of scholarships for robotics students. You're going to see lots of scholarships for community service. That's a really important tenet. It's actually included in Kettering's mission statement. But community service and kind of this idea of being innovative and being a problem solver, but doing it for the betterment of people everywhere. That's something that's really important to our students and our faculty members. And it's something that's really come to light here in the past summer and spring as well. Let's see, yeah, and a couple others that I just glanced at here. We've got one for pre-med students, of course. And then we have one that's built for our business students. So Kettering's business program, it's also, it exists right alongside our STEM curricula. And what I mean by that is Kettering business management students, they are learning to run the business side of these technology innovators and these kind of global enterprise companies. So they are learning they don't necessarily learn the engineering for themselves, but they learn how to work with engineers on a day-to-day basis. And they figure out how to communicate with scientists and with engineers and to take those ideas and push them through the organization in a way that makes sense from a business perspective. So you can imagine that, companies like, for example, a pharmaceutical company or a computer science, like a software building company, they need these types of business students and management to be able to understand both sides of that, the development of the product, the technology, and the business world. And our students, they fit right in the middle so well. They're invaluable to these companies. So we do the merit scholarships. We have additional scholarships that students can apply for. We've got that co-op earning as well, typically between $40,000 and $70,000 by the time students graduate. And of course, we have work study experience for students that apply and that have applied for a FAFSA and have been granted work study. Got lots of opportunities for them on campus too. Generally speaking, we encourage students to always complete a FAFSA. And it's not necessarily based, the reason to do so is not necessarily based on what you might get from a federal or state source. But many times, a lot of these other scholarships, not necessarily Kettering scholarships, but just private scholarships that are out there, the first thing they check for is whether or not you've completed a FAFSA. It's just a checkbox. And many times, they're not even looking at the results. It's a due diligence type of thing. So, they just want to see that the family is doing everything that they can to utilize the resources that they're offered. And a lot of the scholarships, that's kind of an internal check that they do on their own. So I recommend if you're applying to scholarships, have a FAFSA done. So return on investment. Holy cow, this is what we hang our hat on. So last year's graduating seniors, all right, 98% were employed in their chosen field or in graduate school within 6 months. So the operative term there, their chosen field. So these aren't just employed, these are employed in the jobs that they want, the jobs they prepared for, right? There's so many people out there that are working in fields that they didn't pursue while they were in college. So, from my perspective, college, it's a big investment. It's a financial investment. It's a huge time investment. Boy, you sure would like to see fruits of that labor and that investment as you go into your career. And that's what our students are doing 98% of the time. What the other 2% are doing, I think that I think in previous years, maybe they were doing a little overseas trip perhaps or something like that. But yeah, 98% of them are employed. And look at that starting salary, $78,000, all right? That's not a starting salary. Why? We already did it. The co-op program took care of that. That is your starting job. And we package it right into our program. So the co-op at Kettering, I should have mentioned this earlier, it's mandatory. It's a graduation requirement. Our students, they have to do this in order to graduate. So it's on us as a university to provide resources that students can get this work done. And many of our students, they're going to stay with one company all the way through their college education. Some students, they might change facilities, they might change working projects. In some cases, they might change majors and find a new company to work for. So, it's a career exploration. So we're going to do that. Our coaches are going to do that with our students. So the return on investment, it is #1 in actually the larger Great Lakes region, including Michigan, of course. And it has been for a number of straight years. And all that is, when you look at all these return on investment rankings, you're going to see a lot of them as you do college research. Generally, it's just a comparison of average salaries and employment rates of graduates versus tuition dollars that they spent. And we're #1. And this I love this picture. So this is I always throw this into a presentation. This is one of the most popular clubs that we have on campus. This is the Entrepreneurial Society. So like I said, our students, they're problem solvers, they're innovators, and they're thriving in situations where, the world's got problems, right? So our students they're very invigorated to help become a part of these solutions moving forward. So yeah, here's a couple of examples of some alumni and what they've been done. So Sonia Fingolf, she's the CEO of Gap, which includes, Gap includes Old Navy, of course, Gap, and I think it's Banana Republic as well. So their company, she's led a transition. So this summer, she's led a transition. So Gap is actually providing a lot of protective wear and equipment that's necessary for medical technicians. So it's a need that kind of skyrocketed earlier in the spring, and our alum here is a good example of how we were able to pivot. Mary Berra, the CEO of General Motors, she's a Kettering graduate as well. She was just on the news just a short time ago. She was selected to the presidential board for COVID recovery. So she's an advisor there. And then, geez, I just saw a news special about a plant that she was visiting in Indiana, GM plant, that has transitioned from automotive parts to building ventilators. So, like I said, this is in our blood, right? This innovative approach, this problem-solving approach, this service approach. This is really what our students, they thrive in these situations, in those environments, whether it's academic or professional, or maybe something bigger even. So you can imagine, with all these different ingredients packaged together, I mean, the Wall Street Journal named us the #1 school in the country for career preparation. And it's no surprise to us. I mean, our students start career preparation the moment that they step foot on campus, starting work with faculty members that are very, very much in tune with corporate needs in America and really across the world. That's just in our DNA, and we've been doing it for over 100 years now. So we're really good at it. We're really good at piecing together this experiential education. So, and of course, you can hop onto our website and take a look at everything that we're doing out there. I'm just kind of, it's the tip of the iceberg here, but I wanted to leave some time for some questions. So I can tell a couple more stories, but Bree, if we have any questions, then I can dive into those.
Yeah, we have quite a few that came in. So the first one is related to academics on campus. It's kind of a two-parter. So is there a mechanical engineering learning community, and how would I be able to get assistance from my professors within the school?
Oh, sure. Wow, is there a learning community? Yes, it is the entire campus. Remember, there's 13 majors. 90% of what we do is engineering, and that includes computer science as well. So, I mean, there's not a hall or a residence hall or, you know, a specific building. It's the whole thing. All right, that's the learning community. And it's because we're a specialty school. And like I said, we've been doing engineering for over 100 years. In fact, the legacy of the university is in automotive engineering. Now, we've gone on to do so many other things beyond that. In fact, we don't really even refer to automotive anymore. Now it's all about mobility, right? Because there's so many different applications of what we do in transportation. So is there a learning community? Absolutely, and the faculty are very much a part of that. So the faculty are absolutely engaged. In fact, we don't have any teaching assistants instructing classes at all. They're there for help, but they're not there to teach. See, that's the thing. When you look at GAs and TAs at a different college campus, some of them are very well intentioned. Some of them want to help undergraduates as much as they can. But remember, that's not their priority, and it will never be their priority. Their priority is on their own degree program, as it should be. But faculty, on the other end, our faculty, they are very accessible. And we found that what's kind of interesting, we found that our faculty, they love the challenge of working with Kettering students. And let me explain that. A Kettering student will go to their co-op. Say they are going to, geez, we have so many different examples. Let's say, geez, the one that I like to talk, we even have a student that started at SpaceX last summer. That was pretty cool. Well, let's say we had somebody from, let's say international. So international trucking company. So they just make these huge rigs, and they are working on a project where they are designing autonomous parking applications for semis in docking bays, for example. So When they come back to campus and their faculty says, hey, we're going to do this computer science application class, give me a couple of examples of what students have been doing in their co-op. So they have this little storytelling moment right at the start of class, and then the faculty member is able to address these same problems from an academic setting. All right, so brand new technology in the market. You've got the academic setting that's working on these same problems, and the student is right at the intersection between the two. So that's how the faculty stay so involved, because they have real world problems that they're working on too.
Awesome. And then this next question is, do the co-ops count as part of the 4-year training? So I think maybe if you could just explain our academic calendar, that could be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, it's the academic calendar at Kettering is designed around the co-op program. We essentially operate on business quarters. So we spend 3 months on campus, 3 months in the co-op, 3 months on, 3 months in the co-op, and we do that rotation every year. So students are not going to have kind of the prototypical long summer break like they would at a lot of different universities. And I want you to think about that for a second. So what do college students typically do in the summer? Some parents would tell you that they don't do enough or they don't do anything. Many of them are trying to find some kind of a part-time gig. Sometimes they're trying to find an internship. Well, we're going to package that all in. So our students, that's an automatic, all right? So they're already going to be spending that time in a co-op program, and they're going to be making better money than what you could with delivering pizzas or something like that. So it's a unique calendar. Of course, students are going to have breaks between terms as well. So the breaks are anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks. So you're going to have some downtime as well.
Great. And then these next 3 questions are related to the application process. So what are some of the best classes a high school student should be taking to increase the chances of being accepted?
Sure. Well, I'm going to answer that in a couple of different ways. And this is important for all applicants of all different schools. You're doing 2 things, especially your senior year. You're trying to get in the door at a lot of different schools, a lot of different universities, but you're also trying to prepare yourself for collegiate work. So there's students that make the argument, and sometimes parents make the same argument, of kind of taking a softer load in senior year and trying to kind of shy away from classes that traditionally will ding someone's GPA. But here's the thing, you need that challenge and you need that kind of economic rigor, because if you're going into a school and like a school like Kettering, you want some academic chops, and it's okay to have challenged yourself. It's going to better prepare you for your freshman year and beyond. So it's not about just getting in the door. It's about getting in and then being prepared to succeed in an academic environment that's going to move along at a pretty good pace. So I think that's something to consider for a lot of students and families, really. So that's the long answer. The short answer, take math classes for sure. Take laboratory sciences. Those are the things that we really look at. We don't have a foreign language requirement. For us, it doesn't really make any difference. We're not preparing you for, a career in 19th century French literature. So you don't have to worry about those classes in high school either. But your math class, you want to put some effort into. We love to see chemistry and physics. Those are our favorite sciences, really, because they're at the foundation of a lot of advanced science level work on the college level as well.
So if I received an A in an AP math class, but got a bad score on the AP test, will that affect my application in a negative way? Or do you consider, do you focus more on the AP score or the grade that I got in the class?
We look for challenge. Yeah, we look for challenge. We want to see students take the more challenging classes, especially in math and science, if they have that opportunity. And most of the time, our students, they're going to do their aptitude and their interest in math and science is going to outweigh any kind of fear or risk that they might have. So we would suggest that students go for that pre-calc or calculus class. And at the very least, even if you don't do as well. So I say a student that gets, say they take an AP Calc class and they get a C in the AP Calc class. And I understand, you know, they're like, oh, what's it going to do to my GPA? You're going to know more calculus having gotten that C, and you're going to be way better prepared for the calculus that take freshman year, rather than not taking any calculus at all. If you don't take any calculus at all, then guess what you're going to take freshman year and having no foundation in it. So that is long-term, that's riskier, right? So we're going to encourage students to go for the challenging classes.
Awesome. And then if I were to submit a letter of recommendation, does it matter who it comes from?
Oh, it can be from anybody. It can be from a robotics mentor. It can be from a you know, somebody that's involved in your community service, maybe a pastor or a community leader. What we ask for is somebody that knows you well. So a lot of schools, they require a letter of recommendation from a high school counselor. But at a lot of schools, the high school counselors, they don't really know their students very well, especially their students they're doing better. So their attention is kind of focused on struggling students a lot more. So, you know, I'm not interested in reading a letter of recommendation from somebody that doesn't even know who you are. So try to find somebody that can be a little bit more in depth in their letter of recommendation. We ask that it's not a parent. Parents, they tend to have a little bit of bias. But other than that, it can be anybody. Oh, and one more thing. If all your recommender is going to do is kind of in longhand write about what we can already see on your high school transcript, we don't need that information either. We already got it.
Great. And then really quick before we wrap up, can you just explain the early action, like application deadlines?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So our application is open now for rising seniors. It opened on August 1st. Like I said, there's a couple of different options. Our first early action deadline is November 15th. And what that does is we don't have any gimmicks. You know, we're not going to give you some kind of specialty housing or, you know, the best parking spot on campus. We have free parking for all of our students on campus. But what we will do is we can get you started on that co-op process. We'll get you invited to a couple of professional development pieces, many of which are virtual as well. But our accepted students, you know, they can kind of see what that process is going to look like. That's the thing about Kettering, is sometimes it's a little bit harder to visualize what the co-op program looks like, just because it's different for everybody. It's different for every single student. It's customizable. That's the point, right? So we want you to get your application early, and then you can get started with that engagement. You absolutely can do all of that without having committed to Kettering. You don't have to make your college decision to participate in the beginnings of that co-op.
Awesome. And I think that wraps up everything on my end.
All right. I'm seeing 2:44, so I think we're pretty close on our timing too. So certainly we'll share some contact information, and students that have questions, I would encourage you to shoot out something to admissions@kettering.edu, and we'll go into some more detail.
And thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing all this great information with everyone in the audience. So As you exit the Zoom webinar, you will be taken to a short survey. It's only 4 questions, so we'd love to hear your feedback regarding this particular session. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we have more sessions through this evening with Cachet, and all of our recordings will be posted on our website shortly. So thank you again to Scott and Bree with Kettering for being here, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day.
Thank you, Jen.
Yes, thank you.